Now that we added a lot of functionality and learned about that key, let's fine-tune our application here a bit more, because in the person we still have that input where we have the onChange handler, where we try to execute changed, this prop, and also get the value as an input. And in the end, the goal is that if we type here, we adjust the name of the user for which we type this. Now that we render a list and have truly dynamic content, we can finally set this up in a truly dynamic way. So what we need to do is, we simply need to provide this changed property pointing to some event listener or to some method which correctly updates the state. So here I will add changed, and now we need to point this to some method. We got the name changed handler. So let's simply use that here. Let's point to the name changed handler. And now here, in this name changed handler, I need two pieces of information. I need to get the event still to get access to the event target value, so to what the user entered. But I also expect a second input. I want to get the ID of the user to update, or the index in the array. But now since we assigned IDs, why not use that? So therefore, down here, I will again use this function syntax to conveniently pass that data. Now this function here, the overall function, is the one which gets executed upon the onChange event. So here is where we get the event object. Just as we before got it when we didn't assign any function at all directly in the name changed handler. Now we get it here because this is now the first function which gets executed. This anonymous function we define here. I can then pass it on to the name changed handler. And I also want to pass person ID to it. The person ID, of course, is available since we're inside the map method here. So we got access to the person and hence to the ID. And with that, we now can use that information in the name changed handler. We want to update the state, but of course only for the person into which input field we typed. So we need to find that person, this single person, and we can do this by reaching out to the state, to the persons there, and by calling find. This again is a default JavaScript method which gives us this person. We can also use find index to find an element in an array, but then get the index of that element. And yes, we could have passed the index directly into this function. I just want to show you this alternative approach, taking advantage of the ID. Find index takes a function as an input, just as map did. And just as map, it will execute this function on every element in the array. So here I will execute a function where I get the person. This argument name is up to you, but person is already taken by the constant. Where I get this person as an input, and then I get the function body. Now, unlike map, here I don't map this element into something new. Instead, here I have to return true or false, depending on whether this is the person I was looking for, or speaking generally, if this is the element I was looking for or not. Now, it is the person I was looking for if PID, so this single person I'm currently looking at, again, keep in mind, this function is executed for every element in this array. If that is equal to the ID I receive as an argument to this function. If that's equal, that will return true. And then person index, maybe is the better name, will hold the index of the person in the array for which the IDs are equal. I can then get the person itself by reaching out to this state persons and accessing the element at the person index, the index I just fetched here. Now, just as before, it is a good practice to not mutate the state directly. And a person in the persons array, as you can clearly confirm here, is a JavaScript object. Now, as I told you, JavaScript objects are reference types, so we shouldn't mutate them directly because we only get a pointer when we reach out to person here, and hence we would mutate the original object to which this pointer points. So the better approach is to create a new JavaScript object like this, and then use this spread operator in front of the object I'm fetching. Just like with the array, it's also available for objects, and it will distribute all the properties of the object we fetch here into this new object we're creating here. And here we also got an alternative approach, which I won't use. But the alternative approach without the spread operator would be to use object assign, a default JavaScript function, where we pass an empty object as the first argument, and then the object which properties we want to assign into it as the second object, or second argument, I should say. So object assign with an empty object, and then the object of which we want to get the properties is the alternative, but I'll comment it out because I want to use the more modern approach with the spread operator. You can absolutely use both though, there is no better or worse here. So with that I get the person. Now I want to update the person name, of course, and I can do this because I get a copy. I'm not manipulating the original object now. And I can set it to event target name, value, just as we did before. Now I need to update the array, of course, and I want to update the array at this position I fetched here. So, just as before, I can now get my %, the whole array, with the spread operator or with slice by reaching out to state persons. And now I can update it at one position. Persons, person index should now be my updated person here. And again, I'm always working with copies here. Now we got an updated persons array, and this finally allows us to set the state here and set it to this updated persons array, which is a copy of the old array where we updated one element with the updated person where we adjusted the name. A lot of code, but the best way of doing it, the most efficient way without mutating the state. And now if we save this, what we should see is that we no longer get that warning from before. We see all the names here, and I can start typing here and I update them for the object to which the input belongs. So now we got a truly flexible component here, a truly flexible application taking advantage of modern features to render this list efficiently and interact with it efficiently. Super important.